Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast, the Chicago Bears.
Technically, it's 3, but horrible.
All right. Hi, 3.5.
Chicago Bears.
He'll have a handful of sacks. Yeah.
Do you want to keep going? Did Dad Joke Thursday come back? This is great.
No, it didn't.
James, I've never had so much verbal diarrhea in all my life. Giving you some credit there, Jay. That was a good stat.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm back to
it's taken 15 weeks, but we got there.
Yep, we're rounding into late season form because it's week 15. Here we go.
That's how we start! Yeah, baby!
32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One pod Vader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to week 15 of the NFL season on the Next Fan Up podcast. Hey everybody, Pod Vader here. Dealing with 1.5 feet of snow, which I was all excited for. I was really happy. We haven't had snow here in the Northeast in quite some time. And then I took one pass with the snowblower down the driveway and the snowblower broke. So guess who's not excited about snow anymore? Yeah, 2 thumbs pointed at this guy. Let's introduce everybody else here who could care less about my snowblower problems, just like they care less about my friend's fantasy team. Neil, across the pond, the Washington football team superfan. Hello, Neil.
All right, guys. James, I've got another one for you. Well, first of all, James, did you know there was a Tuesday podcast? I didn't know. Then the second thing is with your Georgia election there, how about vote your ass off for ass off?
Oh, my God.
Neil is referencing James, our Eagle superfan, who's on the Tuesday podcast and sometimes is on the Wednesday podcast too, which is the Thursday night football preview podcast. Did you know about that one, Neil?
Yeah, I had that one. Your Monty was on it late yesterday, I think. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, because he's our Raiders superfan. Good job. Yes. James, hello.
Yeah, I am more than aware of the Tuesday podcast. I guess I have to be, since, like Pod said, I'm on it. But
you didn't sound overly conscious this week.
It's been a long week, Neil. It's been a very, very long week, and it's only Thursday. So, yay.
By the way, the gridiron winning chef, Doc, who's been with us every Thursday, knows about the Tuesday podcast.
I do. Thank you for commenting on my text. Thank you.
You're welcome. See? Not only does Doc know about it, he listens, Neil.
I was going to say, hey, let me be on it because I was just going to lose it. Anyways, thank you.
Well, maybe this coming week I'll use some sound from the Saints on the NFL Sound Off episode. Neil. If you don't know what we're talking about, the Tuesday podcast is easily found wherever podcasts are heard. And if you subscribe to Next Fan Up, wherever you listen to those podcasts, you would see the Tuesday podcast automatically downloaded into your listening device. It's usually 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesdays. When we first started, it was early in the morning, but James and I end up, after the podcast is done, talking about wrestling, and we get lost in that, and then I don't produce it until later in the day. But anyway,
is that wrestling with each other out of love? Or what?
There are 4 teams that have clinched playoff spots in the NFL. They are the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Packers, and the Saints. There are scenarios for the Bills, Titans, Rams, Seahawks, and Bucks to clinch this week. And obviously, of those 4 teams, a couple have clinched their division. We're not going to get into all of that. Like I said, if you want to see that or read that or hear that, people do it much more cleverer than we do. Eliminated from the playoffs, joining the Jets, Jaguars, Bengals, Chargers this week are just the Texans and the Falcons. So there's only 5 teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs. There are still mathematical possibilities for all the other teams to make it into the playoffs. Which, quite honestly, I would love to see the least likely scenario happen just once. It'd be so fun. No? Okay.
Have the Patriots been eliminated yet?
No, they have not.
The only thing they've been eliminated from is winning their division.
Yes, that is correct.
And hope.
Yes, hope has been eliminated from New England. That is true. The Pigskin Pick'em, I thought by my 12 correct straight up was going to be great, especially when the power rankings only had 9 correct last week. But no, Jordan, our Titan superfan, got 14 correct. So he is pulling away in first place.
I'm guessing that's
missed out on your two teams there, Neil and James, the Washington football team and the Eagles.
Jay, before we go any further with this football thing, did you talk us through this dusting of snow you got yesterday?
With a 1.5 feet?
Well, you say 1.5 feet, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you measure snow by centimeters? What is that? What is that in centimeters?
1.5 feet will be 45. 45 centimeters. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what the weatherman says? Expect 30 to 45 centimeters of snow.
It depends. Sometimes we're a bit we're not clear about that in this country. We tend to go metric or imperial depending on how the mood takes us. But I can cope with either one, Jay. So are you sure it was 1.5 feet? I mean, was it really 1.5 feet?
It's 1.5 feet. Yeah. Not
just like where the drifts are. It's 1.5 feet, and it's like 2 centimeters elsewhere.
No, it's a solid. Well, let's put it this way: it's a solid more than a foot everywhere. Okay. All right, because my wife doesn't think we got 1.5 feet, but it felt like 1.5 feet. I can tell you that.
Yeah, have you made a snowman or anything? Come on, it's Christmas time. You made a snowman?
No, it's actually not that kind of snow, which again is odd for New England.
What do you mean it's not that kind of snow?
It's not the pack up a snow kind of snow. It's very light and powdery.
Is it quite
did
cold?
It actually snow or snow a euphemism for some other recreational activity?
Yeah, you are. I mean,
let me tell you right now, if it was a stuff for recreational activities, I'd be a very rich man right now.
Has Patrick Chung been seen in the area?
I gotta tell you, I'd be a quadbillionaire with the amount of white stuff that I've got outside.
Well, on the Marshall Islands, wherever they are in the Pacific Ocean, there was a boat washed up, wasn't there, yesterday, the day before, that had been abandoned at sea, and it had 649 kilos of cocaine in it, and it was all packed into 1 kilo packs, untouched in the boat, been out in the sea for a year or two. So might be related to that.
I don't think so. There's definitely more than 649 kilos of snow in my
Tell you what
yard.
to do, Jay. Just go have a break, go out and snort some of it for us, and come back, and we can tell you.
All right. See how it affects me? Yeah. Back to the football. Jordan needs to get back on this podcast with the way that he's picking games right now.
Champion, absolute champion, yeah.
But I'm sure Jordan's unaware of a Thursday podcast, because if you don't know about a Tuesday podcast, why would you know about a Thursday one?
How chipper was Monty doing yesterday's recording for tonight's game as I'm going over the injury report right now?
He seemed rather chipper. But before we even get to the Thursday game, I have some totally useless stats. I know it's been a while, but I've got some useless stats. In Seattle last week, Russell Wilson's 10-yard touchdown pass to tight end Will Dissly pushed the NFL over the 10,000-point threshold this season. The league enters Week 15 with 10,262 points through 208 games. That is the most points scored through 14 weeks in NFL history. Now, the single-season league record is 11,985 points in 2013. And I know I went to Emerson College, and I don't do math good, but to tie the record, we need 574 points per week or 35 total points per game. So I think we're going to break the record, guys.
35 points per game shouldn't be a problem unless you're the Eagles or the Jets.
Well, and you got to imagine, I mean, there's going to be games that are going to score way more than 35 points.
Yeah, true.
So that's exciting. We're scoring a lot of points. And by the way, I didn't even go into the number of one score game, 2 scores coming back, all that record stuff.
Do you remember the halcyon days where we had like a 9-3 or a 6-3 game? I loved those games. They were just great.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Yeah, football in the 50s, Neil, must have been great.
Do you know the other night there was this, was it 47-42 with the Browns and the Ravens? That sort of scoring just makes me sick.
What?
It's like arena football. It's like arena football, and
they weren't throwing the ball for points, Neil. 9 of those touchdowns were by run.
Yeah, I know they were, James, but still, I just don't like it.
They won't be reviewing that game on NFL Films for the archives of the autumn wind Laredo. Score!
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, if they could catch the ball off the net and then return it, that would be an excellent addition, I think.
Arena.
Yeah.
Too bad the net's 10 yards behind the goalpost.
I mean, it's football. It's not basketball. Basketball is the same. You expect in basketball now, every time somebody gets the ball, you expect them to score. It makes me sick.
Well, didn't Marcus Peters try to go through the goalpost at one point in the game? Yeah. So, I mean, it all makes sense. All right. There you go. That's all I had for the general useless stat.
No, that was a good. That was giving you some credit there, Jay. That was a good stat.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm back to.
It's taken 15 weeks, but we got there.
There you go. All right. I knew the insult was coming. Thursday night football, we did a whole preview for this. So again, wherever podcasts are heard, just subscribe to Next Fan Up. You'll get it automatically downloaded into your listening device. The Los Angeles Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chargers 26th in our power rankings. The Raiders 15th. Vegas favors Vegas now by 3. We mentioned that it was only 3.5 on the preview episode. We're all taking the Raiders except for James, who has the Chargers as an upset pick here.
Yeah, mainly because I'm looking at this injury report. That line might change as we get closer to game time. Henry Ruggs is out. Jonathan Abram is out with a concussion. Damon Arnett, the cornerback, is out with a concussion. Cleveland Ferrell, the defensive end, is out with a shoulder injury. Linebacker Nick Morrow is out with a concussion. Tack McKinley has been placed on injury reserve. And cornerback Nevin Lawson has an illness, and he's questionable for tonight. On the Chargers side, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both questionable. Hamstring
I just
and
saw
back
something
injury,
that Mike Williams is not playing tonight.
Considering he has a back injury, I would not be surprised if he doesn't play. Austin Eckler is questionable with a quad. Linebacker Emeka Egbule is out with an illness. Brian Bulaga, the tackle, is out with a concussion. Nasser Adderley, the safety, is doubtful with a shoulder injury. And Denzel Perriman, the linebacker, is doubtful with a back injury. And, of course, we all know Derwin James is just gone for the year. So,
And the Chargers special team staff is out with lack of football knowledge.
Yeah, I'm going to look with both teams having multiple players out. I'm going to say this balances out, and I'm going with the Chargers for the upset.
Doc, I assumed you were going with the Raiders. I didn't ask you.
I'm going Chargers, and so I'm not worried about Williams being out. What's his name? The rookie receiver. He did well last week. Tyron Johnson. I mean, I think he had 60 yards, 6 catches. He'll be fine. But no, the Raiders are in a tailspin.
What's happened to the Raiders, Doc?
They don't know what they are. I think it's just personnel, to be honest with you. Cleveland Ferrell, who cares? I mean, the guy's been in nothing, essentially. Mm-hmm. And Abrams on the back end, he's a young all-pro safety future, but they don't have him. They don't have that rocket from the safety position. I just think that they are a shadow of themselves. So I'll take the better quarterback right now.
All right.
Yep.
Although Derek Carr hasn't been the problem there. Derek Carr's actually been playing really well.
That's wonderful that Derek Carr is not the problem. The main problem is the defense.
Yeah.
The second issue is they don't run the ball enough. Josh Jacobs should have more rushing yards than he has right now.
Well, he's also been hurt, so hopefully
I get that. But if he's able to play, I'd still run him into the ground.
No, but from your mouth to John Gruden's ears tonight on Fox. Hey, everybody, before we keep moving on, I just want to tell you about our partner with the Next Fan Up podcast. Those guys over at thrivefantasy.com. Now, it's an app that has a different sort of take on the fantasy game that you like. They are inviting you to hashtag prop up, especially now that many of your fantasy seasons might be over. You may not be into DFS. Well, you might want to try and give this up. They have a new value prop of the week initiative. This week in TDs only, Travis Kelce's prop is 1.5 receiving touchdowns with a whopping 150 points on the over. So, hey, get in there and prop up with Thrive Fantasy. Here's what you got to do. Either go to thrivefantasy.com or find the app on the App Store or the Play Store. Sign up. And what happens is when you put in your first deposit of $20 up to $50, we're going to match it by using promo code NEXTFANUP. It's that easy. You can play some of these prop bets, just like the Travis Kelce one, and we're going to pay 50% of your bet right then and there. How's that? That's pretty easy to do. And there's Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday NFL action to play here in Week 15. So build up your lineup and hashtag prop up. Use code NEXTFANUP when you sign up. Receive an instant deposit match up to $50 with a minimum $20 deposit. That's thrivefantasy.com. Hashtag prop up. We have Saturday football, gentlemen. Woo!
Here comes Christmas. I love it. That means Christmas is here. It means I don't have to go shopping on Saturday. So.
The Buffalo Bills are taking on the Denver Broncos at 4:30 p.m. Both these games are on the NFL Network. The Bills have moved up to third in the power rankings. My goodness, what a strange season 2020 has been. The Bills are third in the power rankings. The Broncos have fallen to 27th. Vegas favors the Bills by 6 points. Buffalo is aiming for its first division title since 1995. I would have made a joke about one of us not being born yet, but unfortunately, all four of us were pretty old in 1995.
No, I was only 18. I graduated high school in 95.
That's old. That's old enough. You've been a fan of the NFL for at least a decade at that point.
I was at that game.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was actually, it was the first year Jacksonville made the playoffs with Brunell there and their onset, beating Jim Kelly 28-27. I was in the stadium, drunker than a skunk. But, yeah, no. And then the Doug Flutie years in the playoffs against the Dolphins, but there ain't been much. But 25 years, think about it, 25 years. Love those fans.
I mean, podcasting wasn't even invented yet. The internet was barely a thing. Never mind podcasting.
Sports radio was barely hitting its mark, for God's sakes.
True.
Like,
yeah.
You know, the fan in New York, the fan in Toronto.
Back in those days, of course, Doc, Buffalo were a powerhouse. You know, they'd been to, 4 Super Bowls? 90, 91, 92, 93, something like that?
Yeah. But
and then...
But then I'll tell you guys a quick story. The when were they going to get the QB, right? So I got invited to the NFL game in Canada, and I got to spend some time with Mike Holmgren. While I was there was, remember, names like Todd Collins and Billy Joe Hobart. Remember there was a big Billy Joe Hobart forgot his playbook and lost his playbook, all that crap. Well, the true story is Justin Armour was there from the Denver Broncos, and I had a Ford Taurus. So I made friends with Jay Remersma, the tight end of the Bills. It was the American Bowl, and he said, hey, yada, yada. We went outside for a cigar. He said, can you drive us downtown to a club? So I literally had Jay Remersma, Todd Collins, and there was a huge quarterback controversy with the Bills. Who's going to be taking over for Jim Kelly, right? Who's going to be the next? I got Billy Joe from New Orleans. And Todd Collins and Jay Remersma and Justin Armour jumped in my car, and I drove them to a club night before the game. So I'm driving downtown Toronto, and I go, I could make ESPN tonight. All I got to do is settle this quarterback controversy by just hitting the steering wheel and hitting a pole. Right? I had enough beer in me that was going through my head. It was going, I could be on ESPN tonight. So that's the story of the Bills quarterbacks. But anyways, they went and crapped the bed until they got Drew Bledsoe. Ironically, the sad last Bills story was I was introduced to Drew Bledsoe at Jim Kelly's Black Tie Ball. I went in there and this girl goes, oh, come on, let's get a picture with you. Let's get a picture with Drew. I said, okay. Say, hey guys, thanks for donating to charity, whatever. And hey man, I know you're 5-0 and well, thank you all you've done. Remember that's the last year they killed the Patriots 33-0 or whatever it was.
Yeah, in the opener and lost by the same score in the finale.
Yeah. So here's what happened with the bad luck with the Bills, right? So they take a picture of us and Drew Bledsoe, and this lady, she's a multi-millionaire in the craft business. She comes over and goes, no, Doc, come back. I go, no. One picture's fine. Let Drew go. No. The lens cap was on the camera. The picture didn't go. I go, oh, God, he's dead. That's an omen. Sure enough, Drew Bledsoe crapped the bed the next 3 games, went from NFL top-ranked MVP to bottom of the league. It was just, I've been through that crap with the Bills. So I hope they get it done this week. I think right now, overall, the Bills, segue to this, they are one of 4 teams that can beat the Chiefs. And we'll get to
Interesting.
that. But right now, they are well-rounded enough. And Josh Allen, when he doesn't have those brain cramps, they are a top 3 team in the league right now. Well-rounded.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the greatest New England Patriots quarterback of all time, because Bills quarterback Josh Allen ranks 6th in the NFL with a career-high 3,641 passing yards and could become just the 2nd player in Buffalo history to reach 4,000 in a single season, joining the greatest New England Patriots quarterback of all time, Drew Bledsoe, who had 4,359 passing yards in 2002 for the Buffalo Bills.
I didn't realize Tony Eason played for the Bills.
No, Tony Eason has nothing to do with the Buffalo Bills. We are all taking the Bills, and Neil, you're locking it in.
Yeah, but I would like to just say one thing about Buffalo is, I'm delighted for Rob. His team's going to win the division. That's great, fantastic. I hope he really enjoys that. But I find it difficult not to think back to the playoffs last season, where we saw Allen really struggle when the pressure was really on in a playoff game. And I'd want to see. I mean, I hope he does really well, and I'd like to see the Bills get to the Super Bowl. That'd be great. But I need to see him win, or not even win a playoff game, but put in a really, really good performance in a pressurized playoff game before I can really see the Bills up there. But I really do wish them well, because in the regular season they've been one of the most exciting teams to watch this season. I mean, when Allen's on his game. And you see this year development, his consistency, then they're great to watch. Absolutely terrific to watch.
Yep.
James, injuries.
Jaquan Johnson, the safety, he is out. John Brown was placed on injury reserve. Jermaine Edmonds, Teron Johnson, Lee Smith are all questionable. And Isaiah Hodgins, well, that was old news. Don't need to mention him. For the Broncos, cornerbacks Kevin Tolliver and Duke Dawson are both placed on injury reserve yesterday. Parnell Motley is out. Brandon McManus, the kicker, is out because he came into close contact with someone who had COVID-19. Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon are questionable with hip and shoulder, respectively. Defensive end Shelby Harris is questionable as well.
All right. The Carolina Panthers are at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 2nd in the power rankings. The Panthers are 21st. Vegas is favoring the Packers by 8.5. With a touchdown pass on Saturday night against the Panthers, Aaron Rodgers will become the first player in NFL history with 3 seasons of at least 40 touchdown passes. He also reached the mark in 2016 and his MVP winning season in 2011. 40 in 2016, 45 in 2011. Last week, Rodgers passed for 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks for a 133.6 rating, his 3rd consecutive game with that stat line. If he records at least 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions on Saturday, he will tie for the 2nd longest such streak within a single season in NFL history. Rodgers also had a 4-game streak during his MVP winning season in 2014. Russell Wilson has a streak of 5 of those types of games. I haven't, again, asked Doc, but I'm assuming we're all just going to take the Green Bay Packers here.
Yeah, but I am, but I think it'll be closer. If Bridgewater has time, Robbie and DJ Moore, they're capable of great things. Moore had 9 catches and 120 yards last year's game at snowy Lambeau Field, and Marvin Jones almost had a monster game against Packers cornerback Kevin King last week. They are susceptible on the defense, and if Teddy has one of his games, it'll be closer than we think. But they can't stop anybody, and Aaron's unstoppable right now. So
he must be the absolute favorite, James, for the MVP this year.
Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't say absolute. It's more of a conversation now, and it doesn't include Russell Wilson anymore.
No, neck and
but
neck
he's never received. I'm sorry.
But no, Neil, you're right. I think right now the two front runners, even despite his, I would say, horrid performance last week, would be Mahomes and Rodgers. Right now, your top two, and everybody's probably a distant second. After them, or distant third, I should say, after them. But
because
I wouldn't say Rodgers is a shoe-in.
Well, we keep saying that it's got to be a quarterback, but I think there's enough of us types, us podcasters, a few media people that are all starting to sort of question this. Why does it have to be a quarterback? And so I do think like Derrick Henry will get into the conversation. Probably won't win because it'll probably still go to the quarterback. But I do feel like there's enough of us that are starting to raise this question that the voters are going to start changing their mind.
Let's throw it out there. Who do we throw in? Let's throw in 3 players right now.
We can start with Derrick Henry, but my concern is, does he hit 2,000 yards before the season's over with? Because that's the only way running backs get the MVP award nowadays. They either have to have over 20 touchdowns rushing, not combined, or 2,000 yards rushing. That's the only way running backs. And there is such a stigma on that this position has been so devalued. And that's the only reason I think that Henry won't win it. If Dalvin Cook had never got hurt, he'd be in the conversation, for MVP. Just looking at his production when he's on the field, he's a monster. I'd love to throw him out there. Hell, I'll do one better. We just got finished talking about the Buffalo Bills. Let's throw in Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Well, I was going to throw in Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Amen, brother. They're both tied right now.
Yeah. I mean, I would go if it was that sort of open options for players. I would go Quentin Nelson and Aaron Donald.
True that.
Mm-hmm.
True that.
By the way, I'm glad Doc brought up snowy Lambeau Field because it will not be snowy this Sunday. It'll only be 27 degrees is the low with only a 5-mile-per-hour breeze Saturday. So weather not truly a factor. It'll be chilly, I suppose, but nothing that Aaron Rodgers can't handle. Maybe a little more difficult on the Panthers, but that's why Teddy wears 2 gloves. By the way, weather also not a factor in Denver. I should mention that.
All right. Let's start with Christian McCaffrey in this game. He is doubtful this week with the thigh injury. But, Neil, he could return next week for the game against Washington.
No problem.
Other players
better without him.
Questionable include Kenny Robinson, the safety, tackle Greg Little, defensive end Austin Largin, safety Trey Boston, tackle Russell Okung, and guard Dennis Bailey. DJ Moore is out for this game. For the Packers, wide receiver Malik Taylor was limited due to a hamstring injury. Zadarius Smith was limited in practice due to an ankle. Kevin King, the corner, was limited due to an Achilles. Alan Lazard was limited due to a core injury. Tight end Jay Sternberger is in concussion protocol. Tight end Mercedes Lewis was limited in practice with a knee injury. Equanimus St. Brown was limited due to his knee injury, and other players showing up for the Packers include tackle Rick Wardner, linebacker Rashawn Gary, guard Lucas Patrick, linebacker Randy Ramsey, and punter J.K. Scott.
I know hindsight is a great thing. Of course, we all love to use hindsight because it makes us sound so great. But I wonder, with hindsight, think that the Panthers, as they were doing their clear out last summer, would have shifted McCaffrey on? Do you think they regret not doing that now? When his stock was so high?
Because
What,
Mike
you mean as far
Davis
as
has
trading him?
performed admirably in his.
No, because they
replacement?
could have got something for him, which they won't get quite so much now because of his injury history. But they could have got something good from him after his 1,000 season. And they traded, I think, Trey Turner. They traded away their All-Pro guard last year. So with that whole clear out of players and bringing the new coach and new staff and all the draft choices they had, maybe they could have got something for McCaffrey.
Yeah.
That they won't get.
By the
now.
way, Charlotte Observer said as of last night, DJ Moore's playing. So that's why I still had him in there. I don't know, but he came off the COVID list, or a while ago, plus the ankle. But according to the Charlotte Observer, as of last night, he was scheduled, will play. So,
Cool.
All right, it's time to move to Sunday. And we kick off at 1 p.m. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs are 9th in the power rankings. The Falcons are 24th. The Buccaneers are favored by 6 points in this one. And I'm just going to skip right to the interesting part, and that's Neil calling for the upset special.
Adam and Eve on a raft, a cup of muck, and an upset special.
Yeah, I'm kind of going off the Bucs. I'm seeing. I don't know. Ronald Jones, he's not playing, is he? I think is he injured or COVID or something or other.
He's out with a finger injury and
there
COVID.
You go. And COVID. There you go. Double whammy. So I don't think the defense is playing as well as it was early on in the season, and I don't think the offense is playing as well. What's happened to Antonio Brown? Where's he gone?
I didn't know Antonio Brown was the savior of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, Brady wanted him, brought him in, and it seems to have. Well, it does seem to have had a sort of an adverse effect upon the passing game. I'm not sure if Evans is really a big fan of that transaction, and it just looks a little bit disjointed there in Tampa. I'm not sure. They're going to go as far as maybe I thought they might have done 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I agree with you that Ronald Jones is probably a major hit, but they still do have Leonard Fournette, so it's not like
He's done very little, has he?
No, he has done very little, but I do still think that he's a capable running back that can carry the load. If I want to give you anything for your side of the pick here, the Falcons have won 6 of the past 7 versus the Buccaneers. Brady this year against quarterbacks he's faced in the Super Bowl is over.
Oh, yeah.
So he is facing the team that he famously came back from a 28-3.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Yeah, something like that.
You were doing so well with those stats until just about there. Jay, I think there's something here. Obviously, it's a division game, so these are generally a bit tighter. I'm not sure. You know Brady far better than we do. I tend to feel the later it goes on in the season, the more he starts to slow up. Are you seeing any signs of that in his play?
No, he just had a great game last week.
No, he didn't.
He really didn't, yeah.
What are you talking about? No, he didn't.
Yardage and touchdowns, yes. Completion percentage,
He had 2 touchdowns, no picks for a 120.9 rating last week.
Look beyond this. Try looking beyond the stats,
How many passes did he complete last week?
I don't care if his rating is 120.9. That means he's done enough to more than win the game.
Okay. Mind you, that was like near 50% completion percentage last week. So I'd be a little concerned. Yeah,
I'm
yardage
more concerned.
And touchdowns are eye-popping.
Jay, when I was asking you, Jay, I was thinking more of the eye test. You've seen him play year after year after year. Is he playing in the same way with the same?
No, this year is not. This is not a typical Brady year. He's thrown 11 picks. I said famously at the beginning of the season he wasn't going to throw double-digit interceptions, and so I was wrong on that. James has done well to remind me of that since that number popped up, and he's been just like my team. He's been very inconsistent. He's been very up and down in his performance. And that's probably a lot to do with age. I think I still think that he's probably better than half of the quarterbacks that are in the NFL at this point in time in his career. So it's not like I would give up on Tom Brady, but I would start trying to develop an offense around what he can still do well. And that's reading a defense that's in front of him, dinking and dunking, using a lot of play action. You got to run the ball like crazy if Tom Brady's your quarterback. And you're right, the Buccaneers don't seem to be doing that much. And with Ronald Jones being hurt, that's going to limit what Tom Brady will be effective at doing.
It feels a little bit this. Sorry,
LaShawn McCoy too. They're going to run LaShawn McCoy this weekend too. So I don't know.
Just
if that
Nothing like bringing out another old man.
Yeah.
What does MJ have to say about this game?
Oh, that's right. MJ does have a write-up on this one. I forget to look because, the super fans who don't know that there's a Tuesday podcast also forget that they're supposed to write something if they're not on the show, except for MJ. MJ has done very well. Let's see here. MJ says, this week we see the Dirty Birds take on the Tampa Bay Bucks, the start of the last 3 games of the season. And to be honest, I have no idea what to expect. All right, there you go. Glad I read MJ's write-up. No, I will add, some have speculated that Matt Ryan and a few of the other starters sit out the rest of the season since there's no hope of a playoff berth at this point. I've never been one to follow that kind of thinking, but I do understand why people feel that way. Also, I'd bet none of them want to sit out these games. They are competitors and want to compete. I'll put a tag in that too. You have an interim head coach who may or may not be the coach next season. I think it would be better for the Falcons if he was not. They need to sort of do a complete reset there, but you don't want the interim coach playing the youngsters to see what you got on the depth chart for next season.
I guess the question is, do we think the Falcons can score 29 points in this game?
Well, MJ thinks that they will not. They'll score 28 and the Bucks will score 35.
Yeah, because the Buccaneers are averaging 28.5 points per game this year. So.
Will they get to him? And Tampa Bay's pass rush is back on the rails, and Ryan just does not. I mean, ask the Saints. They pressured him 95 times in 2 games, except the last game, not so much, but the previous 2. They get pressure on him? No way.
Do you want a little
not
Bucks?
effective.
Do you want a Bucks question, guys? Who are the 2 Bucks players who have had 100+ yards receiving since week 5?
Scotty Miller and
Mike Evans.
I'll go with that.
No, he's clearly asking this question because it's not Mike Evans.
Tyler Gray.
You'll be happy with this, Jay. Let me say that.
Oh, it's Gronk?
Yeah, Gronkowski and Miller, yeah. No Evans, no Brown, no... Who's the other receiver they've got?
Godwin,
yeah.
I mean, that is a problem. I mean, Evans and Godwin need to eat. Those are your 2 major weapons. So for sure. Let's see. MJ just adds Calvin Ridley limited in practice along with Keith Smith, Michael Walker, Stephen Means, James Carpenter, and a few others. Julio Jones did not practice. He's having issues with a hamstring. He's listed as playing. Ricardo Allen was out of practice due to concussion. If Julio actually plays this week, I anticipate him to be more of a decoy and not as much of a target. Anytime Julio is on the field, he generally ends up in double coverage, leaving Ridley or someone else open, specifically Hayden Hurst, who has proven to be a solid tight end and get some decent yardage. Really? Hayden Hurst? I haven't heard anything about Hayden Hurst this season.
Yeah. Jay, I'm gonna see your useless stat and raise you my useless stat.
Oh, I love your useless stats.
This is the 7th rematch in NFL history between 2 former MVP quarterbacks that started against each other in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl winner of that Super Bowl is 5-1 in such rematches. So, points to
it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, let's get the injury report and move on because, quite honestly, well, I think this game is pretty useless. That was
so useless.
Playoff spots.
James, that stat was so useless. You could use it on the Tuesday podcast.
Oh gosh. So MJ already covered the Falcons. I'll move on with the rest of the Buccaneers. In that Jason Pierre-Paul is questionable with a knee injury. He was a non-participant in Wednesday's practice. Cornerback Jamel Dean was limited with an inner thigh issue going on there. Lineman Steve McClendon, Joe Haig are also questionable. Long snapper Zach Schreiner and punter Bradley Pinion are out because they too were placed on the reserve COVID list with kicker Ryan Suckup.
So did you say Pierre-Paul was out? Or just doubtful?
No, he's like half the ankle sprains and that. They take the middle of the week off. All the veterans do.
There's nothing better than getting a sack and doing a high four with Jason Pierre-Paul.
Well done. The Chicago Bears.
Technically it's 3, but horrible.
All right. High 3.5.
Chicago Bears.
He'll have a handful of sacks. Yeah.
Do you want to keep going? Did Dad Joke Thursday come back? This is great.
No, it didn't.
Keep going.
No dad jokes.
Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings.
The Bears are 18th in the power rankings. The Vikings are 17th and favored by 3. Doc, you are going with the Bears, while Neil and James are going with the Vikings, and I took my pick off the board.
This is the last thing the Bears needed. Trubisky to play well.
Yeah,
I don't know what this team is. It's like, what a brain cramp. Oh, my God. Well, I just think that I think they're going to ramp things up for the end of the year. I don't know, and confuse things, but I just got more confidence right now. I just thought as well as the Vikings played offensively, like they couldn't punch it in the end zone. Right. And I think Khalil Mack has been down most of the year, and he's back on the rails.
I wonder, Doc, was the Vikings loss last week, was that the killer blow in their season and they'll just be mailing it in now? Was that the end of it for them?
No, I think they still got to play. I think that there's enough talent there. They could win 2 of their last 3 and make it uncomfortable. But I don't think they're going to pack it in. No.
They're not eliminated yet. They did beat the Bears earlier this season, 19-13. However, Mitch Trubisky, who did play well, is 4-0 in his past 4 versus Minnesota. He's never been beaten by the Vikings. This Mitch Trubisky character.
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want to win the touchdown that I? So, we just here for no mirror have the word. Come on. It's like, face to face, eh?
Oh gosh, I got nothing on this except for look. Whoever loses this game is based. I mean, they have to be mathematically eliminated at this point from any hope of the playoffs. They're both 6-7. The division is already out of the realm of possibilities because the Packers won last week. I don't know if it's even worth it for either of these teams to even try to scrap for the last playoff spot. We've questioned the Bears' offensive coaching staff all season. The move from Trubisky early on was justified. Nick Foles did not play nearly as well as anyone had hoped. I mean, even if he was an average quarterback in any of those games, they surely should have won more than just losing 5 straight. But I mean,
you say that, James. You say that, but the Bears, they've scored 24 plus points in 5 of Trubisky's 6 starts this season, and they've scored fewer than 24 points in each of Foles' starts.
Okay, I understand that, Neil, but the problem with the points they scored in Trubisky starts is that in the first, 4 or 5 games of the year that he started, all those points were scored in the fourth quarter. You can't wait till the fourth quarter to get your offense.
You won those games.
Remember how they were winning?
Yeah, they were 5-1 or something, weren't they?
Yeah.
At some point.
Okay.
Are you saying the fourth
quarter? Were you doing everything in the fourth quarter? What are you doing in the first 3 besides turning the ball over?
But then, James, the fourth quarter points do count.
Oh, my gosh.
Trubisky only has 5 interceptions to 13 touchdowns. Listen, we questioned it at the time that it happened, and we weren't the only ones. And then as the season progressed it was, wow, it looks like Matt Nagy really made a mistake in going with Foles. And now he's doubled down on the mistake by going back to Trubisky, which means you can't go back to Foles. So at this particular point in time, I will say the same thing for these teams that I say for my own team. I would rather my team, if one of these teams were my team, I would rather the team win a spot in the playoffs and be mediocre because you actually won something. You won the spot in the playoffs than just being mediocre and you're in the dead zone of the draft. As Neil will tell you, these two teams are going to be in the dead zone of the NFL draft. So please be mediocre in the playoffs and not just mediocre, because mediocre is terrible.
And look, we've all heard my railings on Minnesota, the other side of this equation. The downside here for Minnesota is that they lost Dalvin Cook for about, 3-4 weeks of season and had to rely on Kirk Cousins passing to win football games. And they're currently 6-7, so we know how that played out.
By the way, Dalvin Cook missing games is still tied for the lead league with 14 touchdowns. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, you get a couple games in there where you're scoring 4 touchdowns apiece.
But, I mean, as James has recognized often on his podcast, when you have great quarterback play from Cousins, it opens up lanes for the running back.
Injury report. By the way, I'm going with the Bears. I switched my picks to the
man.
Bears. I'm with Doc on this one.
The Vikings will, most likely not have Alexander Madison, even though he's listed as questionable. He missed practice on Wednesday with an illness. I would not count on him to show up. It's not COVID-related. Fullback C.J. Ham, defensive tackle Amon Watts, defensive end Jordan Brayford, and tight end Kyle Rudolph, who's nursing a foot, along with linebacker Eric Kendricks, nursing a calf, all listed as questionable. They placed cornerback Chris Boyd on injury reserve on Tuesday with a shoulder injury. The Bears, Buster Screen is in concussion protocol. Deion Bush is listed as questionable. The other cornerback, Jalen Johnson, has a shoulder injury. He's questionable. And wide receiver DeAndre Carter is out because he was placed on the COVID reserve list.
The San Francisco 49ers are at the Dallas Cowboys. The Niners 20th in the power rankings. Cowboys 28th. Vegas has the Niners favored by 3 points in this game. And this was another one that I switched my pick thanks to Doc. He made me realize the error of my ways. I forgot that even on Tuesday, even I forgot the Tuesday podcast, Neil. I keep calling them the San Francisco, Arizona XFLers. And there's a reason for that. They're banged up. They're hurt. I think they've been admirable. They've done an admirable job of going out there and competing. But the Cowboys, I think, are going to be just a little bit better.
I have no idea what happened to San Francisco last week. They were, against Washington.
I do. His name was Chase Young.
Well, yeah, that's that. Okay, that's fair enough. But honestly, they put the ball in Mullins' hands to win the game, and that was never going to work from the outset. I don't know why. I know Mossert, he was injured during the game, but they had enough in the running game to beat Washington, I thought. And they turned to Mullins. Mullins is not going to win you games, so if they end up going behind in this game, you could easily see Dallas winning it. But you got to remember, Dallas are averaging 17.5 points per game with Dalton at quarterback. So that's not a lot to defend. And then on top of that, you throw in Elliott, who's got 5. He's had 5 games this season where he's had less than 50 yards rushing. Now, between 2016 and 2019, what's that, 3-4 seasons? He only had 6 such games, so clearly
he's a major problem for the Cowboys.
He's a major problem. Plus, he's fumbling. The
guy across the field, Neil, Mostert is better than we expect, but he's 50-50. But here's the kicker. Debo is out, gone. Yeah. And he's the stir. He's the straw that stirs the drink for them, even without Garoppolo in there. So
I mean, he played one snap against Washington. It was a pretty good snap, but that was it. He was out then. And we said it. I think we said on the podcast the previous week. Samuel's back, but don't worry, injuries coming along soon enough.
Here's your useless stat: Niners have a 9% chance of a wild card spot. Cowboys have a 1% chance of the NFC East.
Yeah,
that's pretty useless.
1%.
Can't do much with that one.
1%.
Oh, 1%.
So you're saying there's a chance
By the way, I know that Debo is the straw that stirs the drink. However, Brendan Ayuk is doing a pretty good job of doing his impersonation of a straw. And another one of those rookie wide receivers, James, that we missed out on.
Yeah, a lot of people missed out on Ayuk. And trust me, I got a firsthand look at him on a Sunday night game earlier this season that somehow the Eagles won. But look, between Samuel and Ayuk, as long as one of them is out there, all the gadgetry and gimmicky stuff they do on offense is still available. It's not like it goes out the window because one of them is missing. When both are missing, then I'll be concerned. But as long as one of them is definitely playing, then I don't see any reason to worry.
Well, as long as one of them and Raheem Mostert. So what's the deal with Raheem Mostert on the injury report?
Mostert is questionable with an ankle injury. So, but here's some other news, Pod. Your favorite quarterback in the entire NFL, Jimmy Garoppolo, is off the injury reserve list, but he won't play Sunday with that ankle injury. He may be available next week.
He will never play again for the 49ers, I don't think.
Why do people think that? Kyle Shanahan only wins with him. His record as the starter versus the record without him is starkly different. And it's on the positive side for him being the starter.
I can see them having a rookie quarterback next season. I really can. And here's an interesting stat for you, James. You'll find this one not so useless. But Brandon Ayuk was drafted 1, 2, 3, 4 spots after Jalen Reagor.
That's why I brought it up.
The injury report looks like for the Niners, Ben Garland was placed on injury reserve with a calf, and he'll miss the rest of the season, whatever's left of it for the Niners. Tackle Colton McKevitz, he is out due to being placed on a COVID list. Linebacker Fred Warner is questionable, along with tackle Daniel Brunskill. Raheem Mostert already has mentioned. George Kittle has been removed from the injury reserve list, but his window to play is limited with that foot injury. Kwan Williams and Emmanuel Mosley, the corners, are also listed as questionable, along with defensive tackle DJ Jones. And for the Dallas Cowboys, Elliott shows up on the list with a calf injury. Secondary members, Donovan Wilson, Rashad Robinson, Deontay Burton, Trayvon Diggs, who was placed on injury reserve, Anthony Brown, Savion Smith. Basically, every single corner for the Dallas Cowboys is questionable, minus Diggs. This is going to be an interesting game come Sunday because that is literally the injury report. Ezekiel Elliott and everybody in the secondary.
Make sure somebody checks the score with the Red Zone channel because nobody's going to watch this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the beginning of the year that we're saying we're going to move this game out?
Dallas is still high in the ratings for whatever strange reason.
Because they're Dallas and nothing else. Doc, remember this game was initially at the onset of the season, the Sunday night game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Can you imagine saying that? No, they're going to sub out Frisco and Dallas out of prime time. I mean, it's just unimaginable.
We talked about this on Tuesday, though. They picked the wrong game. We'll talk about it again when we get to that game.
I will say this about the Niners. The defense is reeling, and I'm still somewhat baffled that the return of why am I blanking on his name right now? Cornerback for the Niners.
Sherman.
As a whole, it's made the secondary a little worse.
He's done. He's done.
Yeah, I think he's at the point to where he's an old man playing his position. It might be time for him to convert to safety to prolong it for however many years he has left playing football. He's still a highly intelligent football player. He can dissect the offense as far as what they're doing and what they're going to run. He's probably better equipped to do that from the safety position, but he's not that much of a thumper to actually make that move. So I do question that part of his game. Defensively as a whole, this is still a unit I believe in. Look, they held Washington's offense to only 9 points last week. The 2 touchdowns were by defense return. So if the Niners are only taking care of the ball and, there's no pick six and the quarterback doesn't fumble, they don't get those 14 points, and it's pretty much the ugly game we predicted it would be.
Richard Sherman has said before that he is not going to convert to safety. However, if Robert Saleh asked him to do so at his new team, the Detroit Lions, who are facing the Tennessee Titans this weekend,
Nice segue.
Perhaps he would. The Lions.
That is a stellar segue. My God.
Thank you very much. I think I've done this once or twice before. The Lions, 29th in the power rankings. The Titans, 11th. And oddly enough, Vegas favors the Titans by 11 with a rushing touchdown on Sunday against Detroit. Derrick Henry, who led the NFL with 1,550 rushing yards and 16 rushing touchdowns in 2019, can become the fourth player in league history with at least 1,500 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns in consecutive seasons. He will join. See if you guys can get the three other guys. I highly doubt it without looking at the notes.
What was the question? Sorry.
This we're talking about? What's happening here?
4 players, if Derrick Henry does this, he'll be the fourth in league history with at least 1,500 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns in consecutive seasons.
Eric Dickerson?
No.
Emmitt Smith.
Barry Sanders.
No.
Barry Sanders.
There's only one Hall of Famer amongst these 3 players that have done it, and 2 of them did it in the 2000s, and the Hall of Famer did it in 97, 98.
Oh, crap.
Marshall Faulk?
I'm going Marshall Faulk.
No.
Corey Dillon?
No Corey Dillon.
Martin?
No. I love how you guys are naming great running backs, too. This is fantastic. All right. I will give you
Chris Johnson.
No. I will give you the Hall of Famer. He played for the Denver Broncos and gave him the Mile High salute. Terrell Davis. This guy was on the cover of Madden for the Seattle Seahawks in 2004, 2005.
Alexander.
Are you serious? Alexander?
Yep. And this guy played.
Jamal Charles?
Nope. You are on the right team, though. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh, Chiefs. Larry Johnson?
Larry Johnson, 2005.
Christian Okoye.
Of course, Christian Okoye was another one, yeah.
I wish Christian Okoye.
Yeah.
This is so great. By the way, we're all taking the Titans here. This one's a lock. No one's labeled it as a lock, but it's a lock. The Lions are done. There's nothing here. How's that rib injury for Matthew Stafford, James?
Yeah. So not even listing a rib injury here. He is questionable, but with thumb injury. So he didn't practice yesterday. He's not going to practice today.
Rib injury. Rib injury is the new injury for the quarterback, isn't it?
Yeah.
The new tackling style we have in the game, where you can't tackle them low, you can't tackle them high. You got to tackle them around the waist, and that obviously means the rib cage. You're going to see a lot of that over the years to come.
I mean, is there anything that the Lions can?
Yeah,
sort
Chase
of
Daniel is the backup's backup, and he'll come in and run an average game. A couple of turnovers here, a couple of turnovers there. They can't rush the quarterback if their life depended on it right now, the Titans. So who knows?
I mean, what about the future for this team? I mean, they're already talking about Matthew Stafford probably won't come back, or they'll look to trade him away.
He shouldn't, and they should.
Kenny Golladay is an injury waiting to happen every season. And they don't.
So is DeAndre Swift. You know,
they don't have a defense. Really, it's T.J. Hawkinson.
Hey, here's the best thing that happened. The best thing that happened to that franchise all week is bringing on Chris Spielman to the Ford family. My favorite football player of all time, other than Drew Brees. That man is a football man coming out of the broadcast booth. He will change the culture of the Lions if there's anybody that's going to do it.
I have to ask you, though, Doc, this term of football man, what does that actually mean?
He's just he's a man's man for football.
Oh, no, not man's man. A man's man and a football man.
You know what he was? He was a Barry Sanders of linebackers. He just made the play, double-digit tackles, and it's like handing the ball to the official. Not about me. He was an ultimate team guy. He's just the best guy you could bring on to a club that is as inept as any in sports. So,
I always think of James.
Well, first of all, they're not the New York Jets, so that's disrespectful.
It's true. They won 5 games. That's 5 times more than the Jets.
I was interested, though, Jay. You were kind of intimating that you thought Salah would be the new, the new head coach of the Lions, and I kind of say no to that. Not because I don't like Salah or so, but they've just come from a defensive coach, and it's not. And the usual NFL style is if you've had no success with a defensive coach, you go for an offensive coach, and vice versa. So I'm not sure if that will be the case.
Yeah, and considering they'll be looking for a quarterback in the offseason, yeah, they'll definitely go for an OC.
Mm.
If they're looking for a quarterback in the offseason, they could stick with Stafford. There's no reason why they don't.
So,
well, listen,
looking for a quarterback in the offseason.
Yeah. Pot, I'll tell you that my buddy at NFL Radio said that he has polled coaches that are about to be applying for these positions, and the majority of them said they would rather go there and keep Stafford. So that's just something to think about. Listen, he's not the problem, but is he the solution going forward? No, but it depends on the coaches. Right?
He could be an interim solution, though, couldn't he, Doc, for a year or so?
I mean, if you find your quarterback in the second or third round and let them sit and develop behind Stafford, okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Stafford's the bridge for 2 seasons.
Who's that quarterback, Neil?
Well, it very much depends on the coach. I mean, where are they going to end up picking? They're not going to be in the top couple of picks. So you're kind of thinking Lawrence and Fields are out of the question. So are they a team who's going to be looking at Wilson or Trey Lance? I don't know, Jay, but it's going to be that next tier, if you like, of quarterbacks. So that might, I mean, what Doc's saying there probably makes sense. Keep Stafford around for a year, bring in one of the sort of slightly lower ranked quarterbacks in the draft and bring them on. But then, of course, the problem this year, and you guys will know this as well as I do, there's going to be quite a deep pool of veteran quarterbacks to pick from, aren't there? You think of Darnold, of Ryan, of Stafford, of Newton. A lot of guys on the free agency list.
Trubisky.
Yeah. Yeah, probably one or two of those, and then you could even think maybe. Sorry, James, but your Carson Wentz might be in the picture. Sam Darnold might be in the picture.
Look, one of those Eagles quarterbacks is going to be in the picture. There's no way we're going to next season with both.
Exactly. So a lot to choose from there, and so it very much depends on the coach they get. I guess
you got to sign over that $25 million check. I mean, look at the salary cap next week. That's the problem. You're stuck, man. Who knows? Yeah, could he move? Will they drop him just for the sake of Jalen's potential for perforance? Maybe, but it is unlikely.
We'll get there, Doc.
It's enough Eagles chat already.
All right.
What about did we do the Titans side of the injury report?
No, Titans side, and I'll just go with the big names here. Tight end Jeff Swain, receiver A.J. Brown, and cornerback Adoree Jackson with safety Kenny Vaccaro all show up as questionable. They should be good to go on Sunday.
Yeah, you only listed A.J. Brown there as one of the big names, so good job there. You started with tight end Jeff Swain. I was like, what?
Hey,
big name.
Hey.
Houston Texans
that guy.
Are at the Indianapolis Colts. The Texans 25th in the power rankings. The Colts are 12th. Vegas has a touchdown favorite for the Indianapolis Colts. We're all gone with the Indianapolis. Nope. James taking the mantle of his division mate Jared, going with a crazy lock of the week with the Houston Texans. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that the Texans had this team beat the last time these two teams played, and for as limited and depleted of a receiving core that Houston's supposed to have, Deshaun Watson still looks like an MVP type player out there on the football field, and his play has not declined in any way, shape, or form. His O-line is still a shambles of itself because it doesn't do a good job of protecting him, but he's still completing 60+% of his passes. He's still moving his team up and down the field. They're getting virtually nothing out of the running game, and he's still putting up touchdowns with no turnovers. Understand that the last time these two teams played, the only reason they lost is because on 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line with a minute to go, the center snaps the ball at Deshaun Watson's feet. You give him 4 solid plays to score a touchdown to win that game, they win that game.
Mm-hmm. James, I've never had so much verbal diarrhea in all my life. There's absolutely no chance the Texans win this game. I mean,
right? They had no chance last time either.
Yeah, I always think of you as our man's man, James, but here you're a bit more sort of ditzy blonde.
Yeah, I don't see it, James. I mean, I get what you're saying about Deshaun Watson, and obviously Deshaun Watson, if we want to borrow more phrases from previous, the straw that stirs the drink. He is, but he's it. He's the straw, but there's no drink. There's nothing to stir.
I know, and yet the
Coca-Cola.
coach was supposed to dismantle this team the last time they played, because remember, that's when we started finding out about the receivers who were out for the year because of their trainer giving them supplements.
Yeah,
James, you haven't got a leg to stand on, and if you did, you'd probably shoot yourself in the foot.
What's our injuries look like?
Starting with the Texans, C.J. Prosise, Duke Johnson, a questionable. Brandon Cooks, also questionable with a neck injury. Let's see. Cornerbacks, Randall Cobb is placed on injury reserve early this week. Cornerbacks, Cornell Armstrong, Philip Gaines, and John Reed, also listed as questionable. Justin Reed was placed on injury reserve with a thumb injury.
So just put a pause there on the wide receiver. So Randall Cobb is out. Cooks is probably out. That leaves Kiki Kuti and Chad Hansen, who had a career high 7 catches last week. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, lock.
For the Colts.
This is a lock. This isn't an upset. This is a lock. With Kiki Kuti and Chad Hansen. Isn't Chad Hansen the guy who hosts the Red Zone? Isn't that?
There's one other thing to say for this Houston Texans, though, James, and we just talked about it in terms of the head coaching position with the Detroit Lions. I wonder, guys, if you were applying for that post, would your first question be for the Houston Texans? You know, what's my relationship with Easterby? Is Easterby still going to be there? Is Easterby my boss? Can I fire Easterby? What's the story?
Well, and Louis Riddick just went in for an interview.
He did, yeah.
For the GM.
That's a job. That's a job I think a lot of offensive coordinators would want should Riddick get the job. And I actually, with all the GM jobs available this coming offseason, I sincerely hope that Louis Riddick does get one of these jobs. Instead of just people bringing him in as the Rooney Rule candidate. And I really pray, I hope that these are serious interviews, that there's serious consideration for him and not just touting him out there. Like the year when Marvin Lewis was brought in for an interview for the head coaching job of Dallas when everyone knew he wasn't on anyone's radar.
But come on, guys. The question is Easterby, isn't it? I mean, are you going to go in there? With that guy
I wouldn't go there with Easterby.
They got a PR problem right now, and it's rampant through. It's viral.
Well, they fired their PR person earlier this season, so
that's the problem. That's where the Avalanche started.
The problem.
Yeah.
All right. Colts injuries.
Next. Colts, Mo Alley Cox and Trey Burton are both listed as questionable. Phillip Rivers is going to be on the injury report for the remainder of the season until he has surgery. Tackle Anthony Costanzo is showing up as questionable, and so is cornerback Xavier Rhodes. Rhodes has a knee injury, so that's something to keep out for. And linebacker Jordan Glasgow is going to be out with being placed on the COVID list.
Yeah, I mean, Costanzo missed last week, didn't he? And they ended up playing Quentin Nelson, the left tackle, for some of the game. The offensive line looked a right mess.
Well, they were playing the Raiders, so
yeah.
We already talked about their lack of defense.
I could pull a James here on this next game, but I won't. New England Patriots are at the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins 2-point favorites in this one. We're all taking the Dolphins. Nope. Doc, you still have faith in the inconsistent New England Patriots. I would say, to your credit, the Patriots have been we're going to win one, we're going to lose one, we're going to win one. And if that's the pattern, then they are supposed to win this week.
Yeah. Belichick's got something up his sleeve. And Belichick is what against rookie quarterbacks, my friend?
That's true. He has a very high record against the rookie quarterbacks. I will say, though, his record against his former assistants is not very high.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
And his record in Miami over the last couple of decades is
so anybody that doubts him,
very good.
Anybody that doubts him, I'll say, give him to me for Nola, and we'd have 4 or 5 Super Bowls.
Well,
But
nope.
my
I won't
trust is
doubt
in him.
I don't doubt him, at least not yet. But oddly enough, it is a "what have you done for me lately" type of business, and there are media members in Boston actually questioning whether Bill Belichick should still be the coach of this team, which is outrageous. It's the most outrageous
That
thing
is
I've heard in
crazy.
quite some time.
I would say, without question, this is by far the worst offense Belichick has ever coached, and that includes his time at Cleveland.
Edelman's coming back, right? Edelman's coming back.
Well,
No,
Edelman's
Edelman's not coming
he's
back.
been activated from the IR, but
He's been activated, but I don't
know
think
if he's
coming
going
back
to
for these
play.
last 3.
I mean, it'd be nice if he did. We could certainly use him because God knows Demir Bird is he's there one week, he's gone the next. Jacoby Myers is there one week, he's gone the next. And N'Keal Harry, he should be gone forever. Ugh, it's terrible.
But Jay, you're saying all those things, but it all comes back to the quarterback. If you don't, Belichick's terrific. Outstanding coach, but you cannot win consistently in the NFL if you don't have consistently good quarterback play. And Newton's killing you every second week. Newton's killing you, and sometimes he's killing you, and you manage to scrape through with a win, which is great coaching. But you just can't do it. Doesn't matter who you are. You could stick Vince Lombardi in there, and if you got a bum quarterback, you're not going to win. You're just not.
Well, and it's not just Newton, though. But
It's not all
go back
Newton.
at the beginning of the season, I said this was a top 10 defense, and I still believe it because they have shown at times this season that they are a top 10 defense. They're not because they're so inconsistent. The inconsistency is the one thing that I can't stand, and I'm sure it's driving Belichick crazy too.
Yeah, but hold on, Jay. One of the keys to football is the relationship between your offense and your defense. And if you've got a defense that's playing well, then your offense will have a better chance of playing well, and vice versa. If you've got an offense which is putting points on the board, putting pressure on the other team, that all affects how your defense plays as well. And it's all interlinked, obviously. So you know all that, and that's part of the problem. If you've got quarterback play where the other team knows that there's a certain number of points you're going to score if you're lucky, and you're going to go so far with that offense. The defense knows they can just tighten up a little bit and play it more conservatively and win the game. It's when you've got like something like Brady or a Breeze or whoever been the great quarterbacks of the last 20 years, and they can put 30, 40 points on the board. That puts a tremendous pressure on the other team, and it's all interlinked. And without that quarterback play, knowing you've got Newton and Stidham there at quarterback, defenses and the other team's offense, it just takes that pressure off slightly, and that's all you need in this league to win.
So before the Baltimore victory on Monday night, my son, who is a junior in high school, had done all this elaborate math equations for the playoff chances for the Patriots, because we were watching Football Night in America, and they said the Patriots had a 6% chance. And yet I was sitting here looking at my son, who had mapped out not 1, not 2, but 4 different scenarios, even going down as low as 8-8, where the Patriots could still make the playoffs. Now that went out the window with the Baltimore victory. It required Baltimore to lose, and Baltimore's record or Baltimore's opponents the next 3 weeks it's not going to happen. But I was like 6%. It's crazy, but there's still an outside chance
You're saying
at
4%.
9-7 that New England could get into the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen, but you're right.
No.
I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. There's rumor that there's some sort of handshake agreement because they only paid Cam $1 million this season. They gave him a very cheapo depot deal that they're going to stick with Cam for the whole season.
So.
But we need to know if Jarrett Stidham is the future of this team or not. And my guess is he's probably not, but we really don't know.
4% chance
we
this
know.
year, and if they lose to the Dolphins, it's 0. Then we can ask that question. Yep.
So you're saying we still got to get by the Dolphins before we can throw Jarrett Stidham in.
So Jay, who starts at quarterback first game next year for the
someone not on the team?
Well, who is it though? That's an easy answer. Anybody can say that. Come on, you're the guy.
Well, I mean, I would love it just for the irony for it to be Sam Darnold. That would be fantastic.
Nah, it won't happen. The Jets won't trade him into it.
I would love it to be Sam Darnold. That would be fantastic. I don't know. I mean, if the Falcons are stupid enough to get rid of Matt Ryan, I would love it to be Matt Ryan.
So would you personally rather have a rookie or one of the veteran free agents? Or
well, I'd personally rather have a rookie, but we're not in a spot where we're going to get a rookie. And I don't think we have enough capital unless we trade away Stephon Gilmore.
It might be
and somebody willing to take Stephon Gilmore to get to a spot where we could get one of those top quarterbacks. So unless I'm getting one of those top guys, then I'll take Matt Ryan would be my preference of all the rumored quarterbacks that could be available this offseason.
Next.
Injuries first before we move on.
Let's get the Patriots out the way.
I will say, if there is a chance, it would be the Dolphins injury report.
Gosh, sure. The Patriots laundry list starts with Shaquille Calhoun, who's placed on injury reserve with a knee.
Oh, we can skip the Patriots. Don't even worry about the Patriots injury report.
Are you sure? Because James White shows up on this with a foot that's questionable.
Yeah, that would be problematic because of Rex Burkhead, and James White is playing the Rex Burkhead role now till the end of the season. That leaves us with Damian Harris and another first-round bust, Sony Michel. Oh, that's a fantastic one.
And the other running back, J.J. Taylor, is on the injury report due to a quad injury.
He's
questionable.
He's been there. We're not worried. Yeah.
I'm going to skip the wide receivers because that's just about as mess as any other receiving core that I've seen in a while. Nick Folk, your kicker, is still nursing back pain. So what's the deal going on there?
Yeah, he's been nursing it for like 4 or 5 weeks now. So that's not a problem. We're not worried about Nick Folk. By the way, giving some kickers some love, Jake Bailey leads the league in net punting average with a 46.1 nets.
Okay, your quarterbacks, J.C. Jackson and Jonathan Jones.
Oh, they'll be fine.
Okay, defensive end Lawrence Guy.
Yeah, he's been in and out. He's fine.
All right, then I can move on to the Dolphins. And Calvin Noy, hip injury. He was limited yesterday.
Are you kidding me? Here, pause on Kyle Van Noy. If there's one team Kyle Van Noy is going to play against this year, it's going to be the New England Patriots to stick it to them. Yeah, Kyle Van Noy wants in on this game bad.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Can I finish? Can I finish? Wide receivers Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker, both limited with hamstrings. Running back Salvin Ahmed, shoulder injury. Mike Gesicki, the tight end, he's questionable with a shoulder injury.
He's only questionable. He's not out.
Yeah, he's only questionable. He's listed as of today.
Means playing.
He's questionable.
He's playing. That's
so,
a problem.
Yeah, trust me, it was nasty with that shoulder when he left last week's game, but it looks like he's going to play. Miles Gaskin, however, is not going to play. He's still listed as out.
Yeah, I think DeAndre Washington is their number one back right now.
Yeah. And Eric Flowers is questionable along with Landon Roberts and Bobby McClain.
That's why I said the injury report is the biggest chance for the Patriots to pull out a victory in this one. If they decide that they're actually going to play and those stars for the Dolphins aren't playing, then there's more than a 4% chance. But
you're playing a rookie quarterback.
Sorry, neither quarterback shows up on the injury report pod.
I'm going with the Dolphins in this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was a lot of talk for a team that's going to lose another game. The Seattle Seahawks are at the Washington football team. The Seahawks are 7th in the power rankings. The Washington football team 16th. Hey, that's supposed to be the Patriots spot. Oh, they fell to 19, I see. Okay, all right. Seattle's favored by 5.5. Dating back to the start of the 2018 season, the Seahawks have won 11 of their past 12 games in the Eastern time zone, including the postseason. Washington is 4-0 since week 11, the longest active winning streak in the NFC, and has excelled on defense over that span, ranking first in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game, only allowing 64.8. Second in points allowed per game, 14.3. Tied for third in takeaways, 8. Tied for fifth in sacks, 12. Seventh in total yards per game, 297.3. And best moms during post-game press conferences with Chase Young. You would hear that on the Tuesday podcast. I am more of a believer in the Washington football team than our Washington football team superfan for the third straight week.
There's a reason for that, though.
Special.
Adam and Eve on a raft, a cup of muck, and an upset special.
Well, I have gone for Washington. You'll see on the pick sheet, but it's going to be a tough one. I mean, Washington's defense is playing fabulously well, really well, and I'm sure we've all seen clips of Chase Young. He just looks like an absolute phenomenon at the position, and my goodness, it takes you back to the days of seeing other great defenders enter the league, and he looks like he's on that trajectory to be an all-time top player defensively. So it's fabulous to see him on my team. Jay, I don't know. Seattle, they can put points on the board. They've got the best quarterback here, and I think in this game it might come down to the quarterback position. Is Smith going to be fit to play? He returned to light duties this yesterday, but I'm not sure he's going to play. It's a calf injury. These things usually take a week or two. And yeah, Dwayne Haskins against Wilson. I can't see Haskins dueling Wilson really. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. I just think defensively, Washington has enough to win games because they're playing so well. But also, if Antonio Gibson's not back from his turf toe, which he's also unlikely to be, I think James mentioned it earlier in the show. Washington scored, 9 points or something offensively against the 49ers. I just can't see them keeping up with the Seahawks, because the Seahawks will put points on the board against any defense. So can Washington score 20, 25 points? It's tough, but hey, let's go for it. Washington's defense is playing so well. Why not?
Neil, I got to play them like the Giants did. They can win that kind of game. And I think that defense is better right now than the Giants. So they can,
yeah.
That
Hope so, Doc.
Even if it's Dwayne Haskins, that offense is better than the Giants.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Jay. I'm not sure. But we'll see. I mean, it's nice for once. I don't know when the last time was. We were in a real playoff hunt, but hey, we got a chance to win the division and get a home playoff game. That's just, that's great. That's great. Like you said earlier, Jay, it's better to be in the playoffs, even if you're a mediocre team, than not. So, yeah, come on, Washington, we can do this.
Neil, as I told Jay on Tuesday, the magic number in this division is 7. The first one to get to 7 will win this division, regardless of anything else. And all you guys have to do to get there is win one of the last 3 games.
On Tuesday, what happened on Tuesday?
Yes.
Oh gosh, look. As well as Washington's playing, I do believe Seattle's the better team. I do think this comes down to whether Alex Smith plays or not, and that's pretty much all there is to this game. But the latest blurb that I have here for my injury report is Coach Rivera said Smith, with a calf injury, could start Sunday's game against the Seahawks, even if he doesn't practice this week. So that's the report coming from the Washington Post official site. That was as of yesterday. That hasn't changed today. So he's not practicing this week. He is questionable. So this is going to be a game time decision to see whether he goes for it on Sunday or not. So we won't know till then. Antonio Gibson, still nursing the toe. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Jonathan Allen is questionable with that inner thigh injury. Linebacker Kevin Pierre-Lewis has an ankle injury, and Peyton Barber also nursing an ankle injury.
They'll all play.
I'm pretty sure they will. The Seahawks side is a little bit more disastrous, if you will. Yeah, of course you say good. They put defense tackle Brian Moore into reserve yesterday with his ankle list. He was activated from the COVID list, but he is still nursing an ankle injury. Travis Homer is nursing a knee injury. Carlos Hyde has a toe injury. They're both listed as questionable. Lineman Mike Iapati is questionable, along with running back Chris Carson. He's got a foot injury. And Greg Olsen is designated to return from injury reserve with his foot injury.
I mean, this defense is playing out of its mind, and I think we get skewed by the last game, right? Well, the last game for Seattle was the New York Jets. Everyone's going to look great against the New York Jets. The games before the Jets, the Seahawks were struggling. the football team's defense is on a tear right now, on the same kind of tear that the Saints were just a couple weeks ago. And frankly, the Saints defense is still doing pretty well. So I think, Washington can ride this wave based on the strength of their defense. I don't think they're going to have a problem with the Seahawks. I mean, yes, relatively they will have a problem. It'll be a good competitive game. I think it's going to be closer than people think, and I think Washington will win.
I hope so.
If this is Joe Namath, I don't care that the Seahawks they're struggling. Yeah. You guys don't remember that video? Listen, I'm going to tell you something.
I just want to kiss you right now.
Yeah, I just want to kiss you. There was a website called Kissing Susan Culver for a lot of years. Anyways, Washington 62% chance has a better chance of winning this division than Seattle. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Anyways, yeah, kill Russell for me, please. My Scottish brother.
Wow,
jeez. Roll that bubble and wait till he gets that second line of linebackers and somebody broadside him and I knock him out of the MVP.
That is terrible. Do not root for injuries.
Die.
Do not root for injuries.
What's the next game? Is
death on the football field.
Cut the head off the snake.
Oh my goodness. No. We would not invoke Greg Williams here.
Jacksonville Jaguars are
Greg Williams.
at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens back up to 10.
Time out.
What?
Hold up. Jacksonville still allowed to have a football team?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, especially because Gardner Minshew is back. They are only 31st. They are not the worst team in the NFL.
Here's because they beat the Colts week 1.
Can we take a vote that as soon as we talk about Jacksonville, we got to start talking about Minshew mustache and therefore play 1970s porn music?
Something we've been trying to
wah wah pedal or something.
No, we're not going to do that. But I mean, we're all taking the Ravens here. I think the Ravens are back on track after their little COVID hiccup, and they shouldn't have any problem with the Jacksonville.
As long as Jackson doesn't crap the bed.
Right. Hit me with an injury report on this one.
Let's see here. Cornerbacks, Terrell Bonds and Marcus Peters. Peters didn't practice due to a calf injury. Terrell Bonds was placed on injury reserve. Is designated to return from injury reserve with his knee injury. Defensive tackle Broderick Washington is in concussion protocol. Calais Campbell, of course, still nursing a calf injury. Luke Wilson has a hip. And Trace McSorley was placed on injury reserve after his ghastly knee injury on Monday night. Devontae Harris is listed as questionable, along with linebacker Christian Welch and safety Anthony Levine. For Jacksonville, do we even care about Jacksonville?
No.
Do I have to go? Okay.
Nope.
Jacksonville has people in the injury report, but if people care, Trey Herndon is out because he was placed on the COVID list.
We talk often, Jay, don't we, about how good Baltimore are defensively and a tough, strong defense. But let's not forget this Baltimore defense is 15th in the league this year, which is on par with your Patriots guys. But it's not great. It's not great. It's not the defense it once was, and they're not getting the sack numbers. Where's Calais Campbell gone? Is that injury really stopping him getting a rush on? Yes,
it is actually. Yeah. He could barely get off. Look, they almost got a 5-yard penalty for 12 men on the field Monday night if coach doesn't call the timeout to allow him time to go to the field because he was laboring. Mm-hmm. Like he was struggling. You could see the limp in his leg when he was trying to get off the field on that exchange of personnel. So this is definitely hampering him.
The other thing which surprised me was, we've seen a couple of teams, I think the Raiders and was it the Saints, who have lost draft picks due to COVID issues, and you've got to wonder.
Yeah, but that was more going on the sideline.
How many players do the Ravens have to have with COVID before they actually start getting draft picks taken away? It's an absolute disgrace to see. Neil, one of the great things about sports teams, James, as you'll know well, is that they generally should be behaving themselves and being for society, letting society see the good side of human nature in terms of behaving themselves and doing the right thing. And they are not representing their community with their behavior, because clearly the guys are not following COVID regulations. There's too many cases. And
Neil, look, we had the same conversation almost 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Tennessee Titans. It was the same thing with the Tennessee Titans. Look, the league investigated. They found no wrongdoing, no impropriety, no carelessness or whatever. It's pretty much, look, I said this before the season started.
These league investigations.
Look, you can question them all you want, but as long as it's contained, it all goes back to one: containment. All right, and that was the big issue with those games getting moved and the Broncos game a couple of weeks ago, not because they contained it, unfortunately, to their quarterback and no other personnel on the team, whereas these teams have had widespread, contact tracing, positive tests coming up across the spectrum between players and personnel. And in the beginning of the year, I said, you can do everything you can to make sure everything is safe in the facility. The problem is that these players and these personnel go home to family members, and we don't know what those family members are doing or whoever it is they live with.
But James,
whether it's
are we sure it's positive, by the way? Because I hear like the next week it could, or the next day it could be negative, and then the next day it could be positive again.
But James,
the next day it might be negative again.
Washington has had one player on the COVID list this season, one player, and he was a guy in the reserve. So, there's something not right in Baltimore. They're getting so many players.
There's something not right in a lot of cities. But, Neil, I also you also have this heightened thing with Washington that you had a coach who's recovering from cancer. So he's already in close contact with all his players. I think it's overly stressed there, probably even more so because of that in Washington. So, there's something for them as far as being safe and being responsible. It's probably more heightened with that franchise than any other.
Come on, we're adults. We don't need somebody to have cancer before we take things seriously.
No. Neil. We're adults. These football players are supposed to be adults. They're not.
Well, they are adults.
Still kids.
They're all age.
All right. Well, listen. Let's get back to this football thing, because my friend's fantasy team, he's thinking about rolling out Mark Ingram for a random touchdown because his other option is Wayne Gallman. I don't think he's going to end up doing it. By the way, my friend's football team, this guy, he's been in the semifinals in this league 3 straight years. The 2 previous years, he lost to his son. It's really a shame. Unfortunately, his son isn't in the playoffs this season, so he doesn't have to worry about losing to his son this year. But, oh my gosh. My friend has really been struggling.
Your friend should find a way to get a hold of James Robinson, this rookie running back. He's having a phenomenal year. He's already over 1,000 yards. And,
so you should also tell him,
barring that whole quarterback crap,
there's no acquiring.
He should win the rookie of the year.
There's no acquiring these guys anymore. All right.
Baltimore, but listen, Baltimore could have half the team on the COVID list. There's enough talent there if the QB's there. They what do they got? Look at this. They've got the Jags, the Giants.
Why are we still talking about
and the Bengals. And the
at
Bengals.
The end of the year, those are
walk them in,
going to the playoffs.
Walk them into the 5th seed, 11-5. Book it. We don't need to talk about it.
I know. It's a shame because I really need the Ravens to lose a couple of these.
They're not
going to be this one. No, it's not.
No.
All right, let's continue to talk football as we move to the 4:00 games. And I'm sorry, we're not talking about football. It's the Jets at the Rams. The Jets are 32. The Rams are 6th. They're favored by 17.5. I still think that's too high.
17.5.
I think I said this last week about Seattle, and Seattle covered easily, but
hold on, it's 17.5 points, and James hasn't locked it up. Wow, something's going on.
No, he didn't. We're all taking the Rams. I think it's pretty obvious the Jet season is done. The question is just, are they waiting until Black Monday to get rid of Gase?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clearly that's the case.
They're waiting until the number 1 overall pick is sealed.
So yeah, it's 17.5. I can't give the Jets 17.5. So I'm going to take the Rams to win, but I'm going to take the Jets with those points.
Good pick.
And
17, best quote all week. 17.5 point spread is absurd, but so are the Jets.
They are.
Yeah, and I don't think 17.5 points is enough. Give me the Rams. Like, I'm sorry, this is a better defense that will actually do its job against an inept team like the Jets and shut them down. You have two monsters on that side of the ball in Darnold and Ramsey. So I don't have any faith in the Jets scoring more than 6 points. And by 6 points, I mean like 50-yard field goals if they actually are lucky enough to get that. The only concern for the Rams this week is Robert Woods is on the injury report with a thigh injury, and he's questionable. And I'm not even going to the Jets injury report because who cares to the Jets?
While I'm on my high horse of it and moralizing on football teams, I would also say, Jay, this term Black Friday, I don't like it. It's covert racism.
Monday, you mean?
A Black Monday. I don't like it. Why should a bad day where people get sacked be called black? Why can't it be any other color? I don't like it. I hate it.
Red Monday. It's Red Monday from now on because it's bloody.
There's just that.
There's just pink. Everyone's getting their pink slip.
Yeah, well, exactly. There's just that sense that because it's a bad day, it has to be black. I mean, what's that all about?
Because it's dark as night.
Yeah, no, it's not. It really isn't. It's covert racism. I don't like it.
Oh gosh. Okay, fine. Pink. I'll go with Pink Monday. I'm good with pink.
We never say, "Oh, what a terrible day." It was White Friday. Never. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I hate it. It's that. Move on.
Before that's so many too.
Really
yep.
The Philadelphia Eagles are at the Arizona Cardinals.
That's not going to improve the mood, is it?
You should be happy.
Oh my God.
The Eagles 23rd, the Cardinals 14th. Vegas favors Arizona by 6.5. With 5 receptions on Sunday, Larry Fitzgerald will have recorded his 17th season with at least 50 receptions, and that is tied with Jerry Rice, who had 17 seasons, for the most seasons with at least 50 receptions in league history. We're all going with the Card. No, Neil, are you just doing this to spite James? Is that what it is?
He has to be.
Why are you going with the Eagles?
Explain to do.
Because I was well, I'm not sure how much of, well, no, that's not so true. I was quite impressed with the Eagles. I liked this, the way they ran. Hurts, I think he got over 100 yards on the ground, didn't he, last week, Jalen Hurts?
He did. He did get 100 yards.
I kind of felt that opened up a lot of things for this team. And you kind of sit there wondering, why didn't they do this with Wentz? All these, all of a sudden they're handing off to Miles Sanders. Like, wow, who hadn't thought about that for the first 15 weeks? It's like poor old Carson Wentz sits and watches them running the ball all over the place and doing well. And I just kind of thought there was a real spark in the Eagles last week, and thought they beat the Saints. I mean, what can you say? Not many teams beat the Saints, even with Hill. So I was very impressed with them, and I'm not a Cardinals. I'm just not a Cardinals believer. I really am. I still don't think Murray is fit. I really don't believe that. And I don't take Hopkins out of that game. What have they got? And even with Hopkins catches a lot of balls, but he's not a great yards after the catch guy. So, and the defense, it's not much in that defense for me. I just think the Eagles will go in there and win this game. What are the Cardinals? Are they like 6-7 or 7-6 or something?
They're 7-6, and Hopkins doesn't need to be a yards after the catch guy when he has 1,155.
Yeah, but he's 1,155 yards. You said 342 catches.
No, 94.
Well, that's close.
He's averaging 12.3 yards per catch.
12.3. Jeez, you could average that. That's like your 12 inches of snow, Jay.
Lincoln Riley quarterbacks, eh? The battle of the Lincoln Riley quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And look, these quarterbacks pose a problem for each other's defense because, I mean, both defenses have problems with mobile quarterbacks. And the Eagles are a very static defense. They don't follow people in motion. They stay in their assignments, and misdirection kills them, not to mention read option. We saw what the Giants did. Kyler Murray easily could do that in a quarter with his legs. We saw what happened with Lamar Jackson early this season. These guys they don't fill their gaps the way they're supposed to with running quarterbacks. And I think Kyler Murray is going to torch this defense. Even if it's with his arm, the secondary is not even average, and it got worse because Rodney McLeod tore his ACL, so he's on injury reserve. He's going to miss the remainder of the season. And Malik Jackson's out with a concussion. So
doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter who you got playing the last 4 weeks of the season. Look what's happened the last 3 years in December. They do it with smoke and mirrors. It doesn't matter who you got in there. You got a novelty at quarterback.
The coaching job at the end of the year was just as competent in the beginning of the year.
Mm.
You know, and look, I get last week we knew we were going to see a lot of read option because of who the quarterback was. We knew there was going to be an uptick in called running plays, again, because of who the quarterback was. Like you said, why couldn't they do this with Carson Wentz at quarterback? No one knows, and Doug Peterson refuses to answer that question because, trust me, he's been asked that all week.
Yeah. I just think there's a juju happening right now that you could ride a wave. There's some kind of juju happening that. Yep.
Look. The other question that he's been asked all week is why isn't he running Miles Sanders more? Because look, Miles Sanders had 115 yards last week on only 14 carries. There's no reason he shouldn't get 20 a game.
Yeah, agreed.
Injuries.
I'm more with James on this one. I think the Cardinals aren't going to make the mistake that the Saints made, and they're going to run that run option like crazy on the Eagles. It's going to confuse the heck out of them. And Jalen Hurts did not throw the ball well. He ran the ball well, but he didn't throw it very well. It was just average at best with his throw. So going.
He was 50% passing, but all the throws he threw were safe throws, even the ones that he missed. He threw it to where either the receiver was going to get it or no one was going to get it. So I will give him that much. He didn't throw anything that was nearly intercepted. Like Carson Wentz just seeks out defensive backs and is like, who haven't I thrown to today?
But when I'm looking at the defenses and I go, well, who's hot? Well, the Cardinals right now are hot. Mm-hmm. Hassan Reddick is hot.
Keep him away from my quarterback.
Well, I don't think they're going to keep away from your quarterback.
Saints defensive line was hot, and look what they did. Listen, the juju's there, man. There's magic happening.
Oh, he's in Pittsburgh. Stop saying that.
Something. There you
go. Something. Dark side. Other injuries to this game include linebacker T.J. Edwards nursing a hamstring and Josh Sweat for the Eagles. For the Cardinals, kicker Zane Gonzalez has a back injury, so he's questionable. They did place defensive end Josh Morrow with a hamstring on injury reserve. I'm sorry, he's designated to return from injury reserve. Chase Edmonds is questionable with an ankle injury. Drake Kirkpatrick, the corner, he missed practice Wednesday due to a hamstring, so he's questionable. Devondre Campbell, the linebacker, has an ankle injury. Tackle Kelvin Beachum, running back Jonathan Ward, also listed as questionable, and Darrell Daniels, their tight end, was designated to return from injury reserve as well.
By the way, Zane Gonzalez, you jogged my memory here, James. Maybe they can sign the woman from Vanderbilt to kick for them. You know, I don't think we've mentioned it, or Neil may have mentioned it in passing a couple weeks ago about the woman kicker with Vanderbilt. I want to give like a little salute there and remind people that wasn't there a woman on the U.S. women's soccer team that said, "Oh, I'd love to."
Zach Ertz's wife, Carly Lloyd.
Yeah. What happened to that? Why is that not happening? Like, let's get her out there kicking some field goals.
Sarah Fuller. Fuller.
I mean, all these teams having troubles with kickers, and there's plenty of options.
Oh, and the kicking last weekend was horrendous. What do we have? Like 9 extra points missed, 8 field goals. Oh, it's just horrible.
Yeah, even the best kickers in the league are choking right now at this point.
God, it was horrible. Anemic.
Between the kicking mishaps last week and then these crazy defensive plays / touchdowns, that was the one thing that my son and I kept perking up on Red Zone. We're like, oh, another defensive play. Oh, another missed kick. Oh, another defensive play. It's quite entertaining. Red Zone is great, people. The wide receiver there for the Jacksonville Jaguars hosts it. He does a good job.
Chris Hansen is not wide receiver for the Giants.
Jason Hansen.
All right, that's a kicker. All right, here's a game that I've got a lot on, and I'm sure Doc's got a lot to say about it too. The Kansas City Chiefs are at the New Orleans Saints. It is team number 1 versus now team number 4 in the power rankings. The Chiefs are favored by 3. Kelsey has recorded at least 125 receiving yards in 4 of his past 5 games. He's 128 receiving yards on Sunday to surpass George Kittle for the most receiving yards by a tight end in a single season in NFL history. Just to remind you, Kittle in 2018 caught 1,377 yards of football passes. The Kansas City Chiefs, who led the league with 429.2 total yards per game and ranked second with 31 points per game, square off against the Saints. The Saints are allowing the NFL's second fewest yards per game with 298.4 and the league's 4th fewest points per contest, 20.4. On defense, Cam Jordan is the NFL's only player with at least 6 sacks in each of the past 9 seasons. Demario Davis is one of 2 players. Levante David is the other, with at least 400 tackles and 40 or more tackles for loss since 2017. Demario Davis has 447 tackles and 45 tackles for loss. And defensive end Trey Hendrickson, tied for 3rd in the NFL with a career high 10.5 sacks this season. Doc, the floor is yours.
Before Doc starts,
Please.
you forgot something, Pod.
What?
Travis Kelsey leads the league in receiving yards.
Could be first time ever.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Thank you.
Yep. Let's talk about the Saints first. So, what have we discovered this week? We've discovered that Sean Payton's ego and steadfast principles has Taysom Hill at quarterback and not Jameis Winston because he promised it to him before Jameis joined the team. Mistake number 1. No RPOs, no misdirection, anything that James we talked about. Didn't happen. Everything that Jalen did is what should have been incorporated in the Saints offense. He's trying to give him enough tenure to be able to be a professional passer, which he is not. Number 2. So that's Sean's ego. Put Jameis in and let our boy go back to what he does and be a Swiss Army knife. Number 2. Michael Thomas is unfrickin' guardable. Okay? More than any receiver in this league right now. And your entire backfield, defensive backfield, drops like a prom dress. And all of a sudden, there's nowhere. Where's Michael? Where's Fido? Inexcusable. You roll out on a 4th and 1 to a 2-on-4 proposition when Michael Thomas is wide open over the middle. Only Drew Brees can make that pass. Put it this way. Drew comes back. I only picked the Saints this week for shits and giggles. They're not going to win this game. Doesn't matter how good the defense comes back. Kansas City right now, usually a top team with, this kind of dominating top team usually has more dominant victories. They played a lot of close games, but here's the kicker about Kansas City. There's so much talent on that team. They don't have any clunkers, do they? Think about it. They just don't crap the bed very much.
Well, they did once this year because they lost a game.
Yeah, but they didn't crap the bed. I mean, it's not a, it's not a New York, Tampa Bay crap the bed against the Saints type of thing, right? There's enough there. There's enough problems with the offensive line that the Chiefs defense up the middle. I mean, Taysom had 6 sacks. He has no pocket presence. Please consider Jameis. The book is out on Taysom. Drop it. I mean, I don't care. But right now, I just think that it's going to boil down to this until Drew Brees comes back.
Well, that was my question because I'm looking at this and it says Drew Brees is possibility this week.
He is a possibility, but they don't. They want to rush him back. They don't want to rush him back. Look at who can compete with the Kansas City Chiefs in this league. Can you name them on any Jason Pierre-Paul fingers?
Well, unfortunately, our Scottish friend had to leave, but he mentioned that the Buffalo Bills were one of 4 teams that could.
I agree, and I said that too. I think they're enough balanced. The Saints, who can put up 30 a game? The Saints in that offense with everybody healthy, right? They almost match Kansas City in terms of starts. Get Alvin Kamara, who's been with Fido for 4 weeks now. Get him back in the fold. But right now, as long as Taysom is the quarterback of this team, there's no way he can put up 30 against Kansas City unless there's a couple of turnovers. So I only picked them for this year's and giggles. But Kansas City should win this game by 10 points. Because here's the blemish in the Saints. Beyond DB number 2, they're a liability. Never the safeties are fine. DB 1 and 2 are fine. Beyond that, the the Hardmans, the extra safety that's got to cover that the greatest tight end in history right now, it's too much. And they should have no problem winning this game against the Saints. But I picked the Saints just for reverse psychology. I am tired of Sean Payton's ego right now, and I just want my boy to come back. I want my football team back. So
yeah, and you know, unfortunately, I don't want to piggyback on that, but Captain Obvious here. Everything Sean Payton did Sunday against Philadelphia, he played right into the few strengths of that team.
Amen, brother.
And it was baffling because I'm like, okay, they're running the ball. Certainly they're going to get to the edge with some pulling tackles or some trap blocks or whatever, and they're going to hit the corners and get outside the tackle with Alvin Kamara. But no, they ran Kamara between the tackles where this defense is sound.
And we're our weakest. That's our weakest.
I mean, like Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave are sitting out there, and the linebackers, when they hit their gaps properly, they hit those holes and they stuff runs. I'm like, you have to get going side to side. I'm like, why am I not? Like, it was Sean Payton actually calling the game, or did he lose a bet and his OC got to call the game?
I told you that him and your coach are best friends, and they got a golf vacation booked. I think he said, "I'll pay for your vacation if you let me have this one."
Look,
God.
Behind the scenes, I do believe there's something foul behind what transpired on Sunday, and no, I didn't expect any of that to transpire. Like, even when y'all scored back-to-back touchdowns, I was like, okay, now this is where the wheels are falling off. This is where the game goes to crap, and the Saints do what they do as far as coming back and whatever. And
it almost happened.
It almost happened, but
that onside kick was a couple of inches away from turning the game, right? And here's the kick.
Bunches.
Here's where I think the game, somebody in Vegas got to Sean Payton, brother. What sane offensive mind, probably going to the Hall of Fame, huddles with 3 minutes to go in the game and 2 timeouts and needing 2 scores, and at the ways and means you've been moving the ball. We're screaming at the TV. The Saints broadcast team, we're screaming. I'm throwing crap at the TV. My girlfriend, who knows crap about football, is going, what is he doing? He's huddling with 2.5 minutes to go, and they're not even cross half yet.
I've been questioning this all season long.
My God.
The Saints. It's with a whole lot of teams. I don't understand the mismanagement of the last 5 minutes of a game or the last 5 minutes of a half, even better.
I hear you, Bud. Yep.
Why are we not running 2-minute offenses? Like, we're not seeing 2-minute offenses.
Well, his explanation.
People are calling timeouts. They run a play and then they call a timeout again. Why are you not calling 2 plays during the timeout? I thought
his explanation was this week that Taysom didn't have enough of the playbook. He can't run a 2-minute offense. Well, then he shouldn't be in there. Put Jameis in there. That's what he said on a podcast.
How can he say that he doesn't have enough of the playbook? He's been quarterbacking now for the last 5 games.
Yeah. Sean
you
Payton
can't believe
why is he not here? Sean Payton, come visit us on the Tuesday.
This is Sean Payton. Mr. Payton, I had to take a 2-hour freaking drive with the windows open to cool off. I lost my freaking gourd.
Pretty cold.
I thought that literally some fat guy in Vegas alleyway got to Sean Payton. This makes no sense whatsoever for any NFL coach. I don't understand. But anyways,
this
move
is
on.
baffling to me, honestly.
let's go back to the
Just
Kansas
say
City
that.
question here. I want to talk about the teams that can beat Kansas City here because I think
Okay.
this is an interesting conversation. And I'm going to go straight down via our power rankings. The number 2 team is Green Bay.
They can beat.
Yes, they can
Okay.
beat them.
Number 3,
only because hold on, caveat. Only because of the style of Kansas City's offense.
Yep.
If Andy Reid ever decides I'm going to go run heavy with this backfield, Green Bay can't stand up to that.
But Kansas City can't run the ball right now. They can't.
Well,
Allaire has
Green
been
Bay likes giving
absent
it
for
up.
5 games. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
and there's enough blemishes on that KC
Bell.
defense. They're never out of any
Because of
game.
Bell.
I don't care if they had the Jets defense.
Yeah. But
the way that the
Allaire's
Packers are
missing
playing,
because they're giving everything to Bell.
I mean, we've been talking about Rodgers and Mahomes as 1 and 1A in the MVP race. So I do think that offensively they can keep up, but I don't think the Green Bay defense is going to do anything to slow the Kansas City Chiefs down. I actually would give the edge to the defense to slow down the Packers.
Well, if it's a shootout, I give them a chance. And again, that's if both teams decide to drop back and just it looks like 7-on-7 football and both quarterbacks are tearing up the opposing defense because that can happen. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can flick the ball out of there in like half a second just as anyone else can, probably better even. But you still have to get to him. And I'm not knocking the secondary, but, I mean, he's got Devontae Adams, and if you rotate coverage his side, someone on the backside is going to be open between Tunyon, Lazard, St. Brown. I mean, he has other weapons.
You failed to say my favorite, Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Him too.
Number 3, you've already talked about Buffalo. Number 4, we just talked about the Saints. Number 5 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would say pre-Devin Bush injury, sure, but
Not anymore. They can't run the ball and they can't throw the ball long. They can't score quick lately. Ben seems like he's done. I think he's injured.
Yeah, something's wrong with that offense.
Something's wrong.
At this point of the
They
season.
can't run the ball and he can't throw long. He's throwing intermediate passes 2.1 seconds on average. There's something wrong there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the running game. They've abandoned it because the last 5 weeks they're averaging like 50 yards a game rushing. And for like the first 8 weeks of the season, they were averaging 120, 130 yards a game rushing. So, look, I get that some games you get shut down, but that's not reason enough to abandon it altogether, even with James Conner out there. Look, that fiasco of a game with the Ravens that got moved from Thursday night, Thanksgiving night to the following Tuesday or whatever it was, that game, they actually tried in the first half to run the ball. And Benny
we'll get to Pittsburgh. Hold on. Save that when we actually get to the Pittsburgh game.
Okay, yeah.
6 is the LA Rams, who I actually think it would be an interesting game, but I don't think that I don't think they can keep up.
And actually, we saw that matchup a couple of years ago on Monday night. I believe it was, 52-48 or something like that?
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago. This team is different.
Still a lot of the same offensive personnel on both teams.
7 is the Seattle Seahawks. That defense is, oh my God.
No.
Kansas City might score 70 in that one.
I'll throw one in there, buddy. I don't know in the rankings where Indy is, but I just got
Indy's
this feeling.
12. I just
got this feeling. Indy's got enough, I think, on the defensive end when they're all healthy. And D-Buck's in there. I think they're one team.
I hear you.
Could be this year's Tennessee Titans.
Well, Tennessee is the one that I was going to throw in there. They're at 11, and Cleveland is the other one.
Better chance. Cleveland, no.
I think Cleveland could surprise you if Cleveland plays to their potential. If Cleveland plays up to their potential, which they've done more of this year than any other year.
Mm-hmm.
But when they need to win games, so let's pause right there. So every time we talk about Cleveland, this is the game they need to win for us to consider them upper echelon, not just one of the good teams, but to be one of the great teams. They lose that game. They had an opportunity Monday night to basically eliminate the Ravens from any talks of playoffs, because we've already talked about the Ravens' last 3 games of the season. They're all winnable by like a wide margin. They could easily sleepwalk into all 3 of those games and walk away with the victory. All Cleveland had to do was beat them Monday night. They were at home. They had moderate spattering of fans in the stands, and they couldn't do it because this entire team never shows up. The offense shows up one week, the next week the defense shows up, or maybe it's a couple of weeks the offense is there and the defense is just being dragged behind. And sometimes the defense is pulling the load and the offense is just playing well enough to get them the W. This team hasn't played a complete game yet, and this is why I don't believe in them. They may be top dog right now as far as the wild card standings. I don't trust them going into any division leader right now to win a game, let alone against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, let me remind you, their name is Cleveland. So, no, you can't trust them. You should never trust them.
Here's another thing here's another thing we're thinking about. We should be thinking about right now. We don't know what they are. We don't know what that kind of personality of quarterback is going to be in the playoffs. We don't know. He could turn into another Lamar Jackson and crap the bed. I mean, the playoffs are a different kettle of fish.
They are.
It's so let them get there. And I think there's enough talent there. You're right, Pod. There's enough talent there. There's enough on both sides of the ball if they're playing at their very best to compete with the Chiefs. But right now,
no.
Let's let them get there and see. I think we'll assess this. We'll be talking wild card round. Who can beat the Chiefs? That's all that matters right now.
Did we finish with the Chiefs Saints here? Did we get an injury report? I don't remember.
No, but I will throw in that Byron Pringle, the wide receiver for the Chiefs, is slated to return from the injured reserve. Damian Wilson, the linebackers, listed as questionable, along with tackle Mike Rimmers and tackle Eric Fisher. On the Saints side of the ball, we already talked about Drew Brees. He is designated to return from injury reserve, but unlikely he'll play. Michael Thomas shows up with an ankle injury. Tackles Ryan Ramczyk and Aldris Pete are questionable. Defensive ends Malcolm Roach and Marcus Davenport are questionable. And Deontay Harris, the wide receiver, has a neck injury. He did not practice on Wednesday.
That's the only thing that is questionable right now. We got to get him back. We had the best special teams in the league when he's in there, and we've missed him terribly. That's why they re-signed Tommy Lee Lewis. But
also keep an eye on Nick Easton, your center. He had a concussion that knocked him out of the game Sunday against Philadelphia.
He's a guard. Yep.
Okay, he's in protocol.
Yep. And that's okay because our Michigan man went back in there and he performed okay.
Cesar Ruiz.
But, Cesar Ruiz. So
Sunday Night Football, this game got flexed in, and it is your Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants. Now, the Browns 8th, Giants 22. Vegas has the Browns favored by 4.5. We're all taking the Browns, and we just talked a little bit about the Browns. This is where I think they made a mistake. I don't know why this game was the one that got flexed in, other than the fact that it's New York. So they decided they wanted the New York market. Clearly, Chiefs Saints would be the number one pick. CBS is going to protect that game. So you're not taking Chiefs Saints. So then your next choice, I think, in this would be maybe Texans Colts. That has a little bit of flair, or Bucks Falcons maybe. I'm a little surprised.
Market share, like you said.
Remember, this was flipped before the Giants crapped the bed last week, right?
So, this was done two weeks ago.
Because you're right. They said it all was down. The media mogul said it was all because of they want the New York market. So.
Yeah. But this one, I don't think is going to be close. What's Daniel Jones' status in this one?
Daniel Jones is listed as questionable with the hamstring and the ankle. He was limited in practice on Wednesday.
Cold.
Freeman.
The weather report,
Freeman,
by the way,
out.
32 degrees is your low Sunday night. So
it doesn't matter. Both these teams play outdoors in cold weather cities.
So the cold one.
Adrian Colbert of the Giants, their safety, is designated to return from injury reserve with his shoulder. And guard Kevin Zeitler is questionable for the Browns. Cardero Hodge is questionable with a hamstring. Austin Hooper is questionable with the neck. J.C. Treader and Jack Conklin, along with Wyatt Teller, 3 offensive linemen, also listed as questionable. Kevin Johnson is questionable. That's the defensive back, along with Denzel Ward, who did not play Monday night against the Ravens with that calf injury. He's questionable for Sunday. Sendejo suffered a concussion in Monday night's game, so he's in the protocol. And,
Well, let's go for Wayne Gallman with 100 yards and a touchdown because my friend's
Good luck with
fantasy
that.
team could really use that. That'd be very nice.
Mhm.
But
I think you might want to learn voodoo.
other than that, the Browns are going to win this game. They're going to win it handily. There's really nothing to see here.
Yeah, this is the bounce back game the Browns desperately need, if you will. But look, the remaining of the Browns schedule, they will make the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
That's not my concern.
they win 2 of the next 3. Yeah, no question.
Yeah,
but they're gonna end up going to
in,
Pittsburgh in round 1 most likely, and that's where we'll see the true colors.
which will be a rematch of the last game of the season.
Yep.
Because the next two, look, we know they're going to win the next 2 games. It's Giants and Jets, and they'll probably stay in Jersey because both games are there. It's at the Giants and at the Jets. There's no reason
Cleveland
to come
and New York
Cleveland
isn't that bad a commute. They probably won't stay.
It's not, but I mean, why come back?
Why go there in the first place? It's really the question.
Yeah, I mean, they have scheduled football games, but yeah, look, provided Pittsburgh doesn't fall any farther on their side of things, yeah, I mean,
They will. I don't think
we'll see a third matchup the first weekend of the season. But any chance that Cleveland have for like trying to win this division, out the window.
Yeah.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Because Monday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers are at the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's your Christmas present, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh falls to 5th in our power rankings. The Bengals are 30th. 12.5 points is what Vegas is giving Pittsburgh. This is my lock of the week. Again, not much to see here. The Bengals are pretty much done. My question would be, you have Joe Burrow, you have T. Higgins, who's emerged this season. What is next for the Bengals? What do the Bengals need to get to the next level? What are they?
Big uglies. Big
offensive line. Yeah. You need linemen.
Yeah. And this is great. They can just focus on that and sprinkle in a couple of Ds, maybe a couple of free agents. They'll be fine next year. He probably won't be. Well, they're saying now he's 50-50 to be there for training camp. So who knows? But hey, it'll make this division competitive. Would be great to have 4 teams consistently. You know, there's some question marks going into every division game. That would be nice. You know,
no weather concerns for this game either. That's too bad.
Yeah, and that 12 points pot. Yeah, don't take the Bengals to cover because quarterback Brandon Allen, he's questionable with a leg injury.
Oh yeah,
he's listed as day to day.
And the only other thing I'll tell you about, last time I was in Pittsburgh for a playoff game against Jacksonville, David Garrard was the quarterback of Jacksonville. I left at halftime because it was so freaking cold and went to my favorite bar that is about 10 minutes from the stadium, from Heinz Field, called Fatheads. The best headwidges, sandwiches, chicken wings, nachos, and the best craft beer in Pittsburgh. It is my home away from home. I have 10 Fatheads t-shirts and a Fathead bobblehead on my desk with a pint held up in the air with Mardi Gras beads and a Mexican cerveza hat. I love Fatheads, and that's why I'm picking Pittsburgh. So
I forgot to ask you for the recipe of the week. We'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. But before we do that, for better gambling purposes, as I'm looking at the 10-day weather report for Cincinnati, if you want to, if any of those companies are out there doing you get your furniture for free if it snows on Christmas. Well, Cincinnati, AM snow showers Christmas Eve and AM snow showers on Christmas Day. White Christmas looking solid for you. Go out and buy some furniture. Do they still do that in the age of COVID? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
I'd roll the dice on that, Cincinnati. Go out there and buy yourself some furniture. All right. What's the recipe of the week, Doc?
All right. Seeing you kind of read my text on the Tuesday podcast, we're going to go with these delicious Parker House rolls. And they're great for sliders. You know, I can't look at the picture I'm about to send you. And I did these, so what I've been doing every weekend is pairing up the two teams, which I did, and I did Philly cheesesteak, Philly beef sandwiches, but I did beer cheese with a little Creole twist, Creole beer cheese, used a high alcohol beer, delicious. Cajun onion strings, delicious on this beautiful shredded sirloin tip that was all rubbed in this beautiful Creole rub from my friends down in Texas at Rub and Right. And I made the Parker House roll, everything from scratch. But the Parker House rolls, my girlfriend was going gaga. I'm going to send you these old school Parker House rolls. If you got a cast iron pan, do them in there. This is great for you guys to contribute to your Christmas dinner. Oh. Seriously. Yeah. They're absolutely easy to make, but they're fab as slider rolls, but they'd be fantastic for Christmas dinner. So giving you two staples there for Christmas at 5 fruit, turkey, love, and relish. And now we're going to give you these knockoff Parker House rolls. Recipe forthcoming for the next Fan Up Nation. They're tasty and they're sexy coming out of the oven. You brush them with a little honey and a little sea salt, and they're delicious. So there you go. Parker House rolls.
Let me tell you, my wife made us some cheesesteaks this past weekend, and she didn't do all that crazy stuff that you did to yours, Doc. But sometimes, guys, simple is very good. Just a little salt and pepper and the right provolone cheese and the right steak, and she does them good. And then my son this week, so another proud dad moment, if I may, made the best cinnamon rolls I have ever tasted in my entire life.
Cinnamon rolls.
He cooked them up for his culinary class this week, and my goodness, we had to donate them because I was going to eat all 12 of them. I was just going to chow down on them. Oh my God, they were so good.
Teach your son, if he's a football fan, the principle of the following term: excess in moderation. Can't do it every day, but Sunday's my church. Yeah, that's why I went in and tried to pair up the two. This week I'll be doing barbecue, obviously, because it's Kansas City. But got to do that thematic thing, but excess in moderation. So everything was from scratch, and because I wanted to post the recipes, so they'll be forthcoming because it worked out brilliantly. And if you ever had beer cheese, it's way better than nacho cheese. So.
Well, all this talk is reminding me I haven't had lunch yet. So
get after it.
For Doc, for Neil, for James, and for all the super fans out there, I'm Pod Vader. Thank you all for joining us. Here's Kofi Annan. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together. And through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remain true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.